So you want to know if solar panels are a good investment. Is this all just a scam, or is there a real return on investment from installing solar panels? In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to determine how much money solar panels can save you so you can make the best decision for you and your family. The smarter way to go solar. All right, now in today's video, we're going to be answering the question, how much can solar panels save you? And the answer is, it really depends. And in order to figure out if solar panels can save you specifically, you need to know three things first. Now, the first thing you need to know is, what is your power company's solar buyback program or solar net metering program? Now, when we talk about a net metering program or a solar buyback program, essentially this means that your relationship with the power company is going to become a two-way relationship. During daylight hours, when you have peak sunlight, the solar panels can power the house directly, and in many cases you can send your excess solar electricity back to the power company for credit on your electric bill or on your electric account. That way, during the evening hours, when the solar is no longer producing, you can pull electricity back in from the power company using the excess credits that you earned during daylight hours. Now, the best case scenario is where you have a true one-for-one net metering, which means that for every kilowatt hour of electricity you send them during daylight hours, you can pull it back during the evening hours, and it's a full one-for-one credit. But what we're seeing many of the utilities do now, particularly in California, led by the Net Metering 3.0, is that it's no longer a one-for-one credit. In fact, in California, most of the for-profit utilities there, you have to send them 4 kilowatt hours of excess during the daylight for every one that you get to pull back. And so if you have a net metering program like that, it's going to eat into your solar payback. In fact, what many Californians are choosing to do now is, instead of selling the excess solar to the power company at that discounted rate, that 4-to-1 rate, they would rather just charge their extra solar in batteries and then run the home off of batteries at nighttime. We'll talk more about that later. Now, the second thing you need to know is, what is your retail rate of electricity? In other words, how much are you paying per kilowatt hour of electrical usage? Now, there's a number of different ways that power companies can kind of confuse the bill. They might split it up, a certain charge for generation and then a different charge for distribution and then different charge for taxes. But one way that you can get a good ballpark dollar per kilowatt hour rate is very simply take your total dollar amount of your monthly electric bill and divide it by the total kilowatt hour usage for that month's electric bill. Now, this kilowatt hour rate can vary greatly depending on where you are. Now, where I live here on the East Coast in South Carolina, we have rates as low as 12 and 13 cents per kilowatt hour. On the other hand, on the West Coast in markets like San Diego, you could be paying upwards of 50, 60, or 70 cents per kilowatt hour. So in general, the higher the dollar per kilowatt hour rate you're paying, the better the payback on installing solar panels is going to be for you. In the case of Southern California, even with the extra cost of batteries, solar is still a very, very profitable investment because the rate you pay, if you want to just use utility power, the rate you pay is so high. Now, the third thing you need to know is, what is the specific solar system design and production forecast for your house? So if you're working with a solar contractor or a solar consultant, they should have a system design and a proposal drawn up specifically for your home. And the reason is, every home is different. We have to take into account factors like your roof pitch, your orientation, whatever shading losses might be present at your house if you have trees or other buildings that cast a shadow on the house at certain parts of the day. All of that's going to be taken into account when you use a good solar design software. Now, here at Solar Surge, I like the Aurora Solar software. That's the one that I personally use if I'm designing a system, because it allows us to model accurately all those different factors. Again, there's site-specific factors. There's also going to be equipment-specific factors based on what type of solar panels you're using, what type of inverters you're using. If there's battery storage involved, there'll be additional losses to make sure that the batteries maintain charge. So again, all of that should come out in your system design and forecast, and therefore you'll be able to determine as well, what is your dollar per kilowatt hour cost for solar power versus what you're paying now for the utility. By the way, I know a lot of these concepts can be confusing if you haven't studied it for a while. So if you'd like to talk through your options with a solar expert, or if you need to get a price quote for solar, or if you already have a quote and you need to get a comparison quote with a full system design, as always, you can reach out to us on the link below there, set up a call, or just use the free online quote tool to see how much solar and storage costs in your area. Now, the other thing you need to consider is how are you planning on financing the solar system purchase? Now, if you have the means, now is a great time to pay cash for the solar system. Interest rates are high at the moment, so you can avoid a lot of interest expense if you have the means to pay cash for the solar power system. And if you're a good candidate and your utility has a good solar buyback program, we're seeing paybacks typically in the 5 to 8 year range, if you can afford to pay cash for your solar power system. On the other hand, if your goal is to get the best monthly cash flow, then using a solar lease or a PPA is probably going to be the best option for you. Now, when you're using a solar lease or a PPA, basically you don't own the solar equipment. You're just agreeing to pay a certain monthly lease payment to the financing company or to the leasing company over the term of the system. It's typically a 20, 25, or 30-year term. And the nice thing about the lease is that there's no cash down required, and there's no maintenance cost. Since you don't own the system, it's not your responsibility to maintain it. If there was ever any damage to the equipment and the contractor couldn't repair it, the leasing company would be on the hook to hire another service provider to make repairs. So if your goal is to maximize month-to-month cash flow, the lease is generally the best option for that. However, one downside with the lease is oftentimes it has to be paid off in full if you want to sell your home or leave the property. And so if you intend to move early and pay off early, you may end up incurring penalties, or you may end up having to pay more by buying that lease out early. So the third option is to finance the system purchase with a loan. And the nice thing about the loan is, although you might have a slightly higher monthly payment compared with the lease option, you know what your principal balance is at any time. So if you have to sell the home or you're moving, you know what your payoff is at any time, and generally there's no prepayment penalty. So it gives you some more flexibility there. Just a quick word from our sponsor, Revolt. If you're looking for an all-in-one pre-assembled solar and energy storage system, then you need to take a look at the new Revolt Home Power Plant. The Revolt Home Power Plant is a complete solar and battery system incorporating an outdoor rated enclosure, solar inverter, battery storage, climate control, AC and DC disconnects, and a full 200 amp AC load center. The system is pre-built and factory integrated, so you can keep on-site work to a minimum. With Revolt, you'll never have to build another battery shed. So if you're serious about taking your solar and storage installations to the next level, then you can visit the Revolt website, where you can customize your system and place your first order right away. All right, now the other thing you want to consider in terms of how much solar can save you is whether or not you need battery storage. Now, there's two main reasons why you want to install battery storage with your solar power system. The first is for emergency backup purposes. Now, let's say the utility power goes down. If you want to be able to have secure power in your home, both day and night, then you need not only the means of harvesting energy from the solar panels, but you need a means of being able to store that energy so you have energy available during evening hours when the solar panels are not producing. So by adding battery storage to your solar power system, this can help you achieve that. However, you are going to pay a price premium to add batteries to your solar system. So at that point, the payback may not be so much as far as financial savings, but the payback may be more so in that security and peace of mind. One of the reasons I like solar and batteries compared to a traditional backup generator is that once the initial investment is made, there's virtually no operating cost for the solar and battery system, right? The sun is your fuel source, the batteries give you the storage, and with today's modern batteries, there's no maintenance required. Plus, the federal government will give you a 30% tax credit on the system here in the United States. So I think for many, many reasons, it's preferable to a fuel-burning generator. Plus, it's all self-contained on your property. You're not depending on the natural gas utility or, let's say, propane company to refill your propane tank. You pretty much have everything you need right there on your property. Now, the other reason why you might consider installing battery storage is if your utility does not have a good one-for-one solar buyback program. Now, we already mentioned earlier that California is doing away with, most of the for-profit utilities in California have done away with the one-for-one solar buyback program. So in this case, you can just use your battery Kind of like think of your battery as the utility. Whatever excess solar electricity your panels generate during the daytime, you just charge that extra energy in the battery. And then during evening hours, you can draw from the battery to keep power on in the home, only using the power company as the electric provider of last resort. So for those of you who want to be totally energy independent as far as having backup power, also having the ability to just self-consume your own solar electricity day and night, having backup batteries there makes sense, or having storage batteries with your solar makes sense. By the way, if you already have a solar power system and you're considering installing battery storage, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let us know what equipment you have installed now and which battery system you're planning to install. Of course, if you want to talk through your options with an expert, or if you need to get a price quote for any of the leading solar or battery storage options, as always, you can reach out to us on the link below there, set up a call with an expert, or just use the free online quote tool to see how much solar and storage costs in your area. But that pretty much does it for today's video, guys. I thank you all for spending some more time on the Solar Surge channel. Of course, make sure you give us a thumbs up if you're getting good value from the videos you watch here. And make sure you hit that subscribe button as well if you haven't done so already. That way, as we have new videos like this publishing, it'll come up on your feed so that you can stay up to date with everything. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up for this one here. As always, I'm Joe Ordia, encouraging you to get prepared and be empowered. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.